Late one evening, the streets of the bustling city were quieter than usual. The towering skyscrapers stood like silent sentinels, their windows reflecting the dim glow of streetlights. Benjamin Hartley, a man who had built his fortune from nothing, stepped out of an upscale restaurant where he'd just finished a long dinner meeting with potential investors. Dressed in a tailored suit that screamed success, he exuded confidence and authority. His life was a whirlwind of boardroom strategies, high-stakes deals, and luxury possessions, but tonight, something unusual awaited him. Benjamin's prized possession was his sleek, black luxury car, parked neatly near the financial district, a symbol of his hard-earned achievements. It wasn't just any car. It was a masterpiece on wheels, customized to perfection. He took pride in its gleaming exterior, the soft leather interior, and the advanced technology embedded within. As he approached the vehicle, keys in hand, his sharp eyes caught sight of something amiss. At first glance, it looked like a shadow inside the car, but as he drew closer, his heart skipped a beat. Someone was sleeping in the back seat. Fury bubbled up inside him. Who dared to trespass into his personal space? How could anyone have the audacity to break into such an expensive car? Benjamin clenched his fists, ready to confront the intruder, but as he opened the door, his anger froze mid-breath. Instead of a thief or vandal, he found a small, frail boy curled up on the plush leather seats. The child couldn't have been more than 10 years old, his thin frame wrapped in tattered clothes that barely shielded him from the night's chill. His face was smudged with dirt, but even in sleep there was an innocence about him that struck Benjamin deeply. For a moment, Benjamin simply stared, unsure of what to do. This wasn't what he had expected at all. The boy shifted slightly, clutching something close to his chest, a silver necklace glinting faintly in the dim light. Benjamin's gaze locked onto the piece of jewelry and his breath hitched. The design was intricate, almost regal, and strangely familiar. It was shaped like a crescent moon intertwined with stars, a pattern he hadn't seen in years but still remembered vividly. The necklace belonged to his mother, or at least it looked exactly like the one she used to wear. That very necklace had been a family heirloom passed down through generations until it disappeared mysteriously decades ago. Benjamin had always assumed it was stolen during a burglary shortly after his mother's death. Now, here it was, hanging around the neck of a homeless boy asleep in his car. Was this some cruel twist of fate, or was there more to this story? Benjamin crouched beside the car, his mind racing with questions. Should he wake the boy? Call security? Or perhaps the police? Yet something stopped him. There was no malice. In the child's presence, only vulnerability. Despite his initial irritation, Benjamin felt a pang of sympathy. The boy looked so small, so fragile, as if the weight of the world rested on his narrow shoulders. For reasons he couldn't quite explain, Benjamin decided against taking drastic action. Instead, he reached out cautiously and gently touched the boy's shoulder. The touch startled the child awake. Wide-eyed and disoriented, the boy scrambled upright, fear etched across his face. "I'm sorry," he blurted out, his voice trembling. "I didn't mean to. I was just... Please don't hurt me." Benjamin held up his hands in a gesture of reassurance. "Easy," he said softly, his tone calm but firm. "I'm not going to hurt you. What's your name?" The boy hesitated, his wide eyes searching Benjamin's face for signs of deception. After a moment, he whispered, "Leo." "Well, Leo," Benjamin continued, "what are you doing in my car?" Leo swallowed hard, clearly nervous. I didn't know it was yours. I was cold and it looked warm inside. I thought nobody would notice." Benjamin sighed, torn between frustration and compassion. He glanced again at the necklace around Leo's neck, now fully visible in the light. "Where did you get that?" he asked, pointing to the pendant. Leo instinctively clutched it protectively. "It's mine," he said defensively. Then, seeing the curiosity in Benjamin's expression, he added hesitantly, "An old lady gave it to me. She said it would keep me safe." The word sent a shiver down Benjamin's spine. Safe. That's what his mother used to say about the necklace. She claimed it carried blessings and protection for whoever wore it. Could this really be the same piece of jewelry? If so, how had it ended up in the hands of a street child? Deciding not to press further, Benjamin softened his tone. Listen, Leo, I won't report you to the authorities if you promise to come with me. We can talk more over food. You look like you haven't eaten in days. Leo hesitated, suspicion lingering in his eyes. But hunger must have won over caution because he nodded slowly. Okay, he murmured. Benjamin helped the boy out of the car, noticing how light he felt when he guided him by the arm. They walked together toward a nearby cafe, the contrast between them stark, a wealthy tycoon in an impeccably tailored suit alongside a scruffy, underfed child. Passers-by shot curious glances, but Benjamin ignored them. His focus was entirely on the mystery surrounding the boy and the necklace. As they sat down at a table, Benjamin ordered hot chocolate and sandwiches for Leo, who devoured the food with gratitude. Watching him eat, Benjamin couldn't help but feel a strange connection. There was something about Leo's resilience, his quiet courage despite his circumstances, that resonated with him. Perhaps it reminded him of his own childhood, growing up poor and determined to make something of himself, but the necklace remained the elephant in the room. Benjamin knew he needed answers, yet he also sensed that rushing the boy wouldn't help. Whatever secrets lay behind the pendant, he was willing to wait patiently to uncover them. Little did he know, this chance encounter would change both their lives forever. The next morning, the sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Benjamin Hartley's penthouse apartment, casting a golden glow over the sleek furniture and polished marble floors. The luxurious space was everything one might expect, from a self-made millionaire, modern art on the walls, state-of-the-art appliances in the kitchen, and an expansive view of the city skyline. Yet for all its opulence, it had always felt empty to Benjamin, until now. Leo sat awkwardly at the dining table, his small frame dwarfed by the high-backed chair. He picked at his breakfast, a plate of scrambled eggs, toast, and fresh fruit, his eyes darting around the room as if waiting for something bad to happen. This kind of meal was a far cry from the scraps he usually scavenged from trash bins or begged for on the streets. Every bite seemed surreal, like he was trespassing into a world that didn't belong to him. Benjamin watched him quietly, sipping his coffee. Despite the boy's nervousness, there was something endearing about the way Leo carefully chewed each mouthful, savoring every flavor. It made Benjamin wonder when, or if, the child had last eaten a proper meal. For a man who prided himself on efficiency and control, this sudden intrusion into his orderly life felt both unsettling and oddly fulfilling. So, Benjamin began after a pause, leaning forward slightly. Tell me more about yourself, Leo. Where are your parents? The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Leo froze mid-bite, his fork clinking softly against the plate as he set it down. His expression darkened, and for a moment Benjamin regretted asking. But then, with a deep breath, Leo spoke. They're gone, he said simply, his voice barely above a whisper. They died in a fire a long time ago. Benjamin's heart sank. He hadn't expected such a blunt answer, nor the raw pain behind it. I'm sorry to hear that, he said sincerely. How old were you? 5, Leo replied, staring at his hands. I don't remember much about them anymore. Just bits and pieces. My mom used to sing to me before bed, and my dad would carry me on his shoulders when we walked home from the park. After they were gone, I lived with Aunt Clara. For a while, she was nice, but she got sick too. Then he trailed off, shrugging as though trying to brush away the weight of his memories. Benjamin nodded slowly, piecing together the fragments of the boy's story. It was clear that Leo had been through more hardship in his short life than most people faced in a lifetime. Yet, despite the tragedy, there was a quiet strength in him, a resilience that reminded Benjamin of his own struggles growing up. And what about the necklace? Benjamin asked gently, steering the conversation back to the object that had brought them together. You said an old lady gave it to you. Can you tell me more about her? Leo hesitated, glancing down at the pendant resting against his chest. He touched it lightly as if drawing comfort from its presence. Her name was Mrs. Thompson, he explained. She found me on the street one day when I was really little. I think I was hiding under a bridge because it was raining. She brought me food and clothes and let me stay with her for a while. She told me stories about how the necklace was magical, that it would protect me no matter what happened. Did she say where she got it? Benjamin pressed, his curiosity growing. Leo shook his head. Not really. She just said it was special and that I should never take it off. When she passed away last year, I promised her I'd keep it safe. His voice wavered slightly, and he looked up at Benjamin with wide, earnest eyes. It's the only thing I have left of her. Benjamin felt a lump rise in his throat. There was something deeply poignant about the way Leo spoke about the necklace, as if it were more than just a piece of jewelry. To him, it represented connection, love, and survival. And yet Benjamin couldn't shake the feeling that the pendant was tied to his own past. The resemblance to his mother's lost heirloom was uncanny, almost too perfect to be a coincidence. For the rest of the morning, Benjamin tried to focus on work, but his mind kept drifting back to Leo. The boy had retreated to the guest room, where he spent hours marveling at the plush bed, the flat-screen TV, and the endless supply of clean clothes. It was clear that he wasn't used to such luxury or kindness, and Benjamin couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. How many other children like Leo were out there, struggling to survive without anyone to care for them? That afternoon, Benjamin decided to dig deeper. He called a private investigator he trusted implicitly, someone discreet and efficient. "I need you to look into something for me," he said, describing the necklace in detail. "Find out everything you can about its origins, especially if it matches the description of a stolen item from 30 years ago." The investigator promised to get back to him within a few days, leaving Benjamin to occupy himself with Leo in the meantime. Over the next several hours, they fell into an unlikely routine. Benjamin showed Leo around the apartment, explaining how various gadgets worked and letting him explore the vast library filled with books. At first, Leo was hesitant, unsure whether he was allowed to touch anything. But as the day wore on, he began to relax, even cracking a shy smile when Benjamin joked about his lack of video game skills. By evening, they were sitting side by side, on the couch flipping through channels on the massive television. Leo yawned, exhaustion creeping in after a full day of new experiences. Sensing the boy's fatigue, Benjamin suggested they call it a night. "You can sleep in the guest room again," he said. "It's all yours for as long as you need it." "Thank you," Leo murmured, his voice thick with gratitude. Before heading to bed, he paused and looked up at Benjamin. "Why are you being so nice to me? Most people wouldn't care." Benjamin hesitated, unsure how to answer. The truth was, he didn't fully understand it himself. Maybe it was the boy's vulnerability, or the mystery of the necklace, or perhaps it was something deeper, a longing for human connection that he hadn't realized he was missing. Whatever the reason, he knew one thing for certain. Leo had sparked a change in him, however subtle. "You deserve a chance, Leo," Benjamin said finally, ruffling the boy's hair. "Everyone does." As Leo disappeared into the guest room, Benjamin stood alone in the living room, staring out at the glittering city below. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of hope, not for another business deal or financial gain, but for something far more meaningful. The days that followed were unlike anything Benjamin Hartley had ever experienced. His penthouse, once a sanctuary of solitude and precision, now buzzed with the quiet energy of a curious child. Leo was everywhere, exploring every corner of the apartment, asking endless questions about how things worked and marveling at the simplest luxuries most people took for granted. For Benjamin, who thrived on routine and control, this newfound unpredictability should have been unsettling. Instead, it filled him with an odd sense of purpose. Each morning began with breakfast, a ritual that quickly became their favorite part of the day. Benjamin learned to cook pancakes after realizing Leo had never tasted them before. Watching the boy's face light up as syrup dripped down the fluffy stack reminded Benjamin of simpler times in his own childhood, the rare moments when his mother would surprise him with treats despite their tight budget. Those memories tugged at something deep inside him, softening edges he hadn't realized were still sharp. But amid these small joys, the mystery of the necklace lingered like a shadow. Every time Benjamin caught sight of it around Leo's neck, his mind raced with unanswered questions. Was it truly the same heirloom his mother cherished? If so, how had it traveled from his family to a street child thousands of miles away? And what did its reappearance mean, not just for him, but for Leo? Finally, 3 days after their meeting, the private investigator called. Benjamin excused himself to take the call in his study, closing the door behind him. The room smelled, faintly of leather and polished wood, a stark contrast to the chaos of emotions swirling inside him. He picked up the phone, his voice steady but tinged with anticipation. "What did you find?" he asked without preamble. The investigator wasted no time getting to the point. "The necklace is authentic," he said. "It matches the description of your family's lost heirloom down to the smallest detail. Records confirm it was stolen during a burglary at your childhood home shortly after your mother passed. From there, it changed hands multiple times, eventually ending up in the possession of a pawnshop owner named Geraldine Myers." Benjamin frowned. "Geraldine Myers? Never heard of her?" "She passed away several years ago," the investigator continued. "Before her death, she reportedly gave the necklace to a woman named Evelyn Thompson, a local caregiver known for taking in homeless children. Ring any bells?" Benjamin's breath hitched. "Evelyn Thompson. That's the name," Leo mentioned. "She was the old lady who cared for him." "Exactly," the investigator replied. "It seems she inherited the necklace and decided to pass it along to Leo. Whether she knew its true value or simply saw it as a token of protection, we can't say for sure. But one thing's clear. The necklace has a story all its own." Hanging. Up the phone, Benjamin sat back in his chair, his mind reeling. The pieces fit together perfectly, yet the revelation left him more conflicted than satisfied. This wasn't just a stolen item returned. It was a symbol of loss, survival, and serendipity. It connected two lives separated by decades of hardship and circumstance. And now, it rested around the neck of a boy who had become a mirror reflecting parts of Benjamin he thought he'd buried long ago. When he emerged from the study, Leo was sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by puzzle pieces. He looked up as Benjamin entered, his expression brightening instantly. "Hey, Mr. Hartley. Look, I almost finished this one." Benjamin smiled despite himself. "Good job. You're getting better at those puzzles." Leo grinned proudly, then tilted his head curiously. "Were you talking to someone important?" "Yes," Benjamin admitted, sitting down beside him. "I found out some interesting information about your necklace." Leo's smile faltered slightly. "Is it bad news?" "No, not at all." Benjamin hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "It turns out the necklace used to belong to my family, a long time ago. My mother wore it when I was young, but it disappeared after she died. Somehow it ended up with the woman who gave it to you." Leo's eyes widened. "Really? So we're connected?" "In a way, yes," Benjamin said softly. "It's strange, isn't it? How something so small could bring us together like this." Leo touched the pendant absently, his brow furrowed in thought. "Do you want it back?" he asked quietly, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Benjamin studied the boy's face, seeing the vulnerability beneath the question. To Leo, the necklace wasn't just jewelry. It was a lifeline, a reminder of the only person who had shown him kindness in a cruel world. Taking it away would feel like severing that connection forever. "No," Benjamin said firmly. "It belongs to you now. Mrs. Thompson gave it to you for a reason, and I believe she knew what she was doing." Relief washed over Leo's features, followed by gratitude so profound it made Benjamin's chest tighten. "Thank you," the boy whispered. "I promise I'll take care of it." For the rest of the day, Benjamin couldn't stop thinking about the implications of their shared history. The necklace had been a constant thread weaving through both their lives, even though they had walked vastly different paths. For him, it represented a painful chapter of loss and resilience. For Leo, it symbolized hope and survival. Together, they formed a tapestry of human experience that transcended wealth, status, or circumstance. That evening, as they sat side by side watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Benjamin felt a warmth he hadn't known in years. He realized that while he had spent decades building an empire, he had neglected to build relationships. Success had insulated him from vulnerability, but Leo's presence was slowly dismantling those walls. "Mr. Hartley?" Leo's voice broke the silence. "Yes? Can I ask you something?" "Of course." Leo hesitated, fiddling with the edge of his sleeve. "Why did you let me stay here? Most people wouldn't trust someone like me." Benjamin considered the question for a moment. "Because everyone deserves a second chance," he said finally. "And because sometimes life gives us signs we can't ignore. Finding you in my car wasn't an accident, it was meant to happen. Maybe we were supposed to help each other." Leo nodded slowly, as if absorbing the weight of those words. Then with a shy smile, he leaned closer. "You know, you're not as scary as you look." Benjamin chuckled, ruffling the boy's hair. "And you're braver than most adults I know." As night fell and the city lights flickered to life outside the window, Benjamin felt a sense of peace settle over him. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing for sure. Leo had changed him in ways he couldn't yet fully understand, and perhaps in return he could offer the boy the stability and love he so desperately needed. Weeks turned into months, and the bond between Benjamin Hartley and Leo grew stronger with each passing day. What began as an act of kindness had evolved into something deeper, a relationship that neither of them could have anticipated. For Benjamin, it was a journey of rediscovery. For Leo, it was a chance to rebuild his life from the ashes of loss and hardship. Every morning started with a routine that had become sacred to both of them. They would sit at the dining table, sharing breakfast while discussing their plans for the day. At first, Leo was hesitant to open up about his feelings or dreams, but over time, he began to trust Benjamin enough to share snippets of his thoughts. He spoke about wanting to go to school, to learn how to read and write properly so he could be smart like you, as he put it. His admiration for Benjamin was evident in everything he said, and though Benjamin tried to downplay it, he couldn't deny the warmth it brought him. One Saturday morning, Benjamin decided it was time to take things further. "Leo," he said, pushing aside his coffee mug, "I've been thinking, how would you feel about starting school?" Leo's eyes widened in surprise. "School? Like, real school?" "Yes, real school," Benjamin replied with a smile. "You're bright, and you deserve an education. I'll enroll you in one of the best schools in the city." For a moment, Leo looked thrilled, but then doubt crept into his expression. "But what if I'm not good enough? Or what if the other kids don't like me?" Benjamin leaned forward, his voice firm yet gentle. "Listen to me, Leo. You're smarter than you think, and anyone who doesn't see that isn't worth your time. Besides, everyone starts somewhere. I didn't know anything when I was your age. I had to work hard to get where I am today, and look at me now." He winked playfully, making Leo laugh. That laugh meant the world to Benjamin. It was proof that the boy was healing, slowly but surely. Over the next few weeks, they prepared for Leo's entry into school. Benjamin hired tutors to help him catch up on basic subjects like math and reading, and together, they spent hours practicing. Leo proved to be a quick learner, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. Watching him thrive filled Benjamin with pride, but also a sense of responsibility. He knew he couldn't undo the years of neglect and hardship Leo had endured, but he could give him tools to build a better future. In addition to academics, Benjamin introduced Leo to hobbies he thought might interest him. Chess became a particular favorite. One evening, as they sat across from each other at the chessboard, Benjamin explained the rules patiently. "This game is all about strategy," he said, moving a pawn forward. "It teaches you to think ahead, to anticipate your opponent's moves. Life is kind of like that too." Leo nodded thoughtfully, studying the board. "So, it's like planning for what comes next?" "Exactly," Benjamin said, smiling. "And sometimes you have to make sacrifices to win." As the games continued, Benjamin noticed something remarkable. Leo wasn't just learning how to play chess. He was learning how to strategize, problem solve, and persevere. These skills were invaluable, especially for someone who had faced so many obstacles in life. Each victory, no matter how small, boosted Leo's confidence, and Benjamin took quiet satisfaction in seeing the transformation. But their connection went beyond lessons and activities. Slowly, Benjamin began opening up about his own past, something he rarely did with anyone. One rainy afternoon, as they lounged on the couch watching old movies, Benjamin found himself reminiscing about his childhood. "I grew up poor, you know," he admitted, surprising even himself. "My mom worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. We lived in a tiny apartment, and I remember feeling ashamed because my clothes weren't as nice as the other kids." Leo listened intently, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Did you ever feel like giving up?" "All the time," Benjamin confessed. "But my mom always told me that success isn't about where you start, it's about where you end up. She believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. That's why I worked so hard to build this life. I wanted to honor her memory." There was a long pause before Leo spoke again. "Do you miss her?" "Every day," Benjamin said, softly, his voice thick with emotion. "She was my anchor, my guiding light. Losing her was the hardest thing I've ever gone through." Leo reached out hesitantly, placing a small hand on Benjamin's arm. "I think she'd be proud of you," he said earnestly. "You're helping me now, just like she helped you." Benjamin blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the boy's sincerity. In that moment, he realized that Leo wasn't just a child he was mentoring, he was becoming a part of his family. The loneliness that had haunted him for years began to fade, replaced by a sense of belonging he hadn't felt since his mother's passing. Their bond deepened further during weekends, when Benjamin took Leo on outings around the city. They visited museums, parks, and libraries, exploring places Leo had only seen from afar. On one such trip, they stopped by a science museum, where Leo became fascinated by an exhibit on astronomy. As they stood beneath a giant model of the solar system, Leo asked, "Do you think there's life out there, Mr. Hartley, somewhere far away?" Benjamin chuckled. "Who knows? Maybe. But I do know that right here, right now, we're lucky to have each other." Leo smiled, his eyes sparkling with wonder. "Yeah, we are." By the end of the summer, Leo had blossomed into a confident and curious young boy. School enrollment was finalized, and he eagerly counted down the days until classes began. For Benjamin, the change in Leo was nothing short of miraculous. The once fragile street child had transformed into a resilient, hopeful individual who dreamed of a brighter future. Yet despite all the progress, Benjamin knew there was still much work to be done, not just for Leo but for himself. Caring for the boy had awakened something inside him, forcing him to confront emotions he had buried long ago. Grief, guilt, and regret resurfaced, but so did love, joy, and purpose. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive. As they prepared for bed one night, Leo paused at the doorway of the guest room, clutching the necklace tightly. "Mr. Hartley?" he called softly. "Yes, Leo?" "Thank you for everything. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I promise I won't let you down." Benjamin's heart swelled with emotion. "You already haven't, Leo. You've reminded me of what really matters. Now go to sleep. You've got a big day tomorrow." As Leo disappeared into the room, Benjamin stood alone in the hallway, reflecting on how far they'd come. The boy who had once slept in his luxury car was now preparing to step into a classroom, armed with hope and determination. And the man who had once defined success by wealth and power was learning to measure it by the lives he touched. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but Benjamin knew one thing for certain. Their connection was unbreakable. Together, they were rewriting their stories, turning pain into strength and loss into love. The weeks leading up to Leo's first day of school were a whirlwind of preparation and anticipation. Benjamin threw himself into ensuring that Leo would have everything he needed: new uniforms, notebooks, pens, and even a sturdy backpack with his name embroidered on it. Despite the excitement, there was an undercurrent of nervousness in the air. For Leo, stepping into a classroom meant entering unfamiliar territory, where he would face challenges far beyond academics. For Benjamin, it was a test of whether he had done enough to prepare the boy for this new chapter. On the night before school started, they sat together by the fireplace in the living room, the soft crackle of flames filling the silence. Leo fidgeted, with the hem of his shirt, his gaze fixed on the flickering fire. Sensing the boy's unease, Benjamin leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "What's on your mind, Leo?" he asked gently. Leo hesitated, then shrugged. "I'm just scared. What if I mess up? Or what if the other kids don't? Like me?" Benjamin placed a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "It's okay to be scared. Everyone feels that way when they're starting something new. But remember this. You're stronger than you think. You've already overcome so much in your life. School will be no different. But what if I'm not smart enough?" Leo pressed, his voice trembling slightly. "You are smart," Benjamin said firmly. "And even if you struggle at first, that's fine. No one expects you to know everything right away. What matters is that you try your best and keep learning. Trust me, I wasn't the smartest kid in my class either, but I worked hard and look where I am now." Leo looked up at him, searching his face for reassurance. After a moment, he nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll try. That's all I ask," Benjamin replied with a warm smile. Then, after a pause, he added, "And don't worry about the other kids. If anyone gives you trouble, you tell me. We'll handle it together." Leo managed a small smile, though the weight of uncertainty still lingered in his eyes. To distract him, Benjamin pulled out a chessboard. "How about one last game before bed? Let's see if you can finally beat me." The playful challenge lightened the mood, and soon they were engrossed in their match. As always, Benjamin used the game as an opportunity to teach Leo valuable lessons about patience, strategy, and resilience. By the time they finished, Leo seemed more relaxed, his earlier fears momentarily forgotten. The next morning arrived too quickly. Dressed in his crisp uniform, Leo stood nervously by the door, clutching his backpack tightly. Benjamin knelt beside him, adjusting the collar of his shirt. "You look ready," he said encouragingly. "Just remember to listen to your teachers and be kind to your classmates. Everything else will fall into place." Leo nodded, though his hands trembled as he held onto the strap of his bag. The drive to school was quiet, both of them lost in thought. When they arrived, Benjamin walked Leo to the entrance, where a group of students milled about, chatting excitedly. For a brief moment, Leo hesitated, his feet rooted to the spot. "Go on," Benjamin urged softly. "You've got this." Taking a deep breath, Leo stepped forward, glancing back once to wave goodbye. Benjamin watched him disappear into the crowd, his heart swelling with pride and a touch of sadness. It was a bittersweet moment, marking the beginning of a new phase in their lives. Over the following weeks, Benjamin made it a point to stay involved in Leo's education. He attended parent-teacher meetings, reviewed his homework, and celebrated every achievement, no matter how small. To his delight, Leo adapted quickly, impressing his teachers with his eagerness to learn and his natural curiosity. His classmates, initially wary of the new kid, warmed up to him as well, drawn to his friendly demeanor and quick wit. Despite these successes, Benjamin noticed that Leo still carried a lingering sense of insecurity. One evening, as they played chess in the living room, Leo suddenly blurted out, "Do you think I'll ever really belong here? Like with people who have families and homes and normal lives?" Benjamin set down his pawn, turning to face the boy. "Leo, belonging isn't about where you come from or what you've been through. It's about finding people who care about you and places where you feel safe. And you belong here, with me." Leo's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "But what if something happens and you change your mind? What if you decide you don't want me anymore?" Benjamin's chest tightened at the raw vulnerability in the boy's voice. Setting aside the chessboard, he moved closer, placing both hands on Leo's shoulders. Listen carefully, because I mean every word. You are not a burden, Leo. You are a gift, a reminder of why I work so hard and why I strive to be better. I may not be perfect, but I will never stop caring for you, do you understand? Leo nodded, blinking back tears. Thank you, he whispered hoarsely. That conversation marked a turning point in their relationship. Benjamin realized that while providing for Leo's physical and educational needs was important, addressing his emotional scars was equally crucial. Over the next few months, he made a conscious effort to create a stable, loving environment, one that mimicked the family life Leo had missed out on. One chilly winter evening, as snowflakes drifted lazily outside the window, Benjamin broached a topic he had been thinking about for some time. They were sitting side by side on the couch, sipping hot chocolate and watching the snow blanket the city. Leo, Benjamin began, his tone cautious yet steady. What would you say if I told you I wanted to make our arrangement permanent? Leo frowned, confused. What do you mean? I mean adoption, Benjamin clarified. I want to officially become your father, not just someone who takes care of you, but someone who loves you and is responsible for you legally. What do you think? For a long moment, Leo stared at him, his expression unreadable. Then, without warning, he threw his arms around Benjamin, hugging him tightly. Yes, he exclaimed, his voice choked with emotion. Yes, please. Tears welled up in Benjamin's eyes as he hugged the boy back, holding him close. In that moment, he felt a surge of gratitude for the chance to give Leo a home and for the unexpected gift of parenthood that had transformed his own life. The adoption process was lengthy but rewarding. Benjamin spared no expense in hiring lawyers and social workers to ensure everything went smoothly. During this time, Leo flourished, thriving in school and embracing his new identity as part of a family. The necklace remained a constant presence around his neck, a symbol of their shared journey and the unbreakable bond they had formed. As the final paperwork was signed and sealed, Benjamin stood proudly beside Leo, who beamed with joy. For the first time in years, both of them felt truly whole. Their connection was no longer defined by chance or circumstance. It was solidified by love, trust, and the promise of a brighter future. In adopting Leo, Benjamin hadn't just given the boy a second chance at life. He had also rediscovered his own humanity. The millionaire who once measured success by wealth and power now found fulfillment in the laughter of a child and the warmth of a family. Together, they proved that sometimes the greatest treasures aren't material possessions, but the relationships we build and the lives we touch along the way. Years passed in a blur of milestones and memories, each one etching deeper lines of connection between Benjamin Hartley and Leo. What started as an unexpected encounter had blossomed into a relationship that neither could have imagined. A bond forged through loss, resilience, and love. As the days turned into months and then years, both their lives transformed in ways they never thought possible. On a crisp spring morning, Benjamin stood at the edge of a crowded auditorium, his heart swelling with pride as he watched Leo walk across the stage to receive his high school diploma. The once frail street boy who had curled up in the back seat of a luxury car was now a tall, confident young man dressed in a cap and gown. His face glowed with accomplishment, and when he caught sight of Benjamin in the audience, he flashed a grin so wide it seemed to light up the entire room. Benjamin clapped louder than anyone else, tears welling up in his eyes. This moment wasn't just about academic success. It was proof of how far Leo had come, against all odds. It was a testament to his determination, curiosity, and the unwavering support they had built together over the years. As Leo shook hands with the principal and accepted his diploma, Benjamin couldn't help but reflect on their journey. After the ceremony, they celebrated with dinner at a fancy restaurant downtown, the same place where Benjamin had been wrapping up a business meeting the night he first found Leo sleeping in his car. Sitting across from him now, Benjamin marveled at the transformation. Gone was the shy, hesitant child. In his place sat a poised and articulate teenager who spoke passionately about his plans for the future. "I've decided I want to study social work in college," Leo announced between bites of steak. "I want to help kids like me, kids who don't have families or homes. Someone gave me a second chance, and I want to do the same for others." Benjamin nodded, his chest tightening with emotion. That's incredible, Leo. I'm so proud of you." Leo smiled sheepishly. "You know, none of this would have happened without you. You didn't just save me. You showed me what it means to care for someone, and now I want to pay that forward." For a moment, Benjamin struggled to find words. He had always known that helping Leo was the right thing to do, but hearing the boy express gratitude and purpose was overwhelming. "You're going to change lives, Leo," he finally said, his voice thick with emotion. "Just like you changed mine." As Leo prepared to leave for college, Benjamin wrestled with mixed feelings. On one hand, he was thrilled to see the boy pursue his dreams. On the other, he dreaded the emptiness that would fill the penthouse once again. But instead of clinging to the past, Benjamin chose to embrace the present. He helped Leo pack his belongings, offered advice about dorm life, and even accompanied him to campus orientation day. Watching Leo settle into his new surroundings brought back memories of their early days together, the uncertainty, the hope, the gradual trust building. Now standing in the doorway of Leo's dorm room, Benjamin felt a sense of peace. This was where Leo belonged, at the threshold of a bright future, ready to make his mark on the world. Before leaving, Benjamin pulled the boy aside for a private moment. "Remember, no matter where you go or what you achieve, this will always be your home. You can always come back to me." Leo hugged him tightly, his voice cracking slightly. "Thank you, Dad, for everything." The word hit Benjamin like a wave, filling him with warmth and fulfillment. It was the first time Leo had called him Dad, and it felt like the final piece of their puzzle falling into place. In the years that followed, Benjamin continued to play an active role in Leo's life, attending parent-teacher conferences, cheering at soccer games, and offering guidance whenever needed. But he also began to focus more on giving back to the community. Inspired by Leo's decision to study social work, Benjamin launched a foundation dedicated to helping underprivileged children. The organization provided scholarships, mentorship programs, and safe housing options for kids living on the streets. At the grand opening of the foundation's headquarters, Leo stood beside Benjamin, addressing the crowd with confidence and grace. "When I was a child, I thought my story ended on the streets," he said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "But then someone believed in me. That person is standing right here today, my dad, Benjamin Hartley. Together, we're working to ensure that every child gets the opportunity they deserve." The audience erupted in applause, and Benjamin wrapped an arm around Leo's shoulders, feeling a surge of pride. Their partnership extended beyond father and son. They were allies in a shared mission to create a better world. Decades later, Benjamin sat in a rocking chair on the porch of a quiet countryside home, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. Retirement had given him time to reflect on his life, and he often found himself thinking about the twists of fate that had led him to Leo. Without that chance encounter, he might have remained trapped in a life defined solely by wealth and ambition. Instead, he had discovered joy, purpose, and unconditional love. Leo visited often, bringing along his own family, a wife and 2 rambunctious children who adored their Grandpa Ben. During these visits, the necklace still hung around Leo's neck, its silver surface worn smooth from years of wear. It served as a constant reminder of their shared history and the serendipitous events that had brought them together. One evening, as they sat side by side gazing at the stars, Leo turned to Benjamin with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder why things happened the way they did? Why the necklace ended up with me and why Mrs. Thompson chose to give it to me?" Benjamin chuckled softly. "All the time. But I think maybe it wasn't random. Maybe it was meant to guide us, to bring us together when we needed each other most." Leo nodded, resting his head on Benjamin's shoulder. "Whatever the reason, I'm glad it did. You saved me, Dad, and in doing so, you saved yourself too." Tears welled up in Benjamin's eyes, but this time, they were tears of contentment. He had spent decades chasing success only to realize that true fulfillment came not from material wealth but from human connection. The millionaire who once valued control above all else had learned to let go, and in doing so, had gained something infinitely more precious: a family. As the stars twinkled overhead, Benjamin reached out and patted Leo's hand. "We're lucky, you and I," he murmured. "Not everyone gets a second chance like ours." Leo smiled, his grip tightening around the pendant. "Yeah, we are. And I wouldn't trade it for anything." In that quiet moment, surrounded by loved ones and bathed in the glow of twilight, Benjamin knew he had lived a life worth remembering. His legacy wasn't measured in dollars or deals. It was written in the hearts of those he had touched, starting with a little boy who had once slept in his luxury car,